Hey, everybody, welcome to the second episode of the Wiley Wire. I'm your host, Brandon Wiley, and today we're jumping right in, covering the state fraud, starting in Minnesota and other states. We're going to do a deep dive into immigration. We're also going to cover the new food pyramid that RFK just put out. Looks like it's really protein-based, which is a great thing, and you're going to get my picks for the NFL playoff weekend. Welcome to the Wiley Wire.
Republicans want to tell you it's too dangerous to walk down the streets. Republicans want to tell you there's nothing good comes out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. Republicans want to tell you everybody with brown skin is stealing money or that they're not welcome here. They want to do nothing to improve this state. Their idea of improving this state is being a parrot for Donald Trump, agreeing to everything that he agreed with. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It ain't happening. I'm not going anywhere. And you can make all your requests for me to resign over my dead body. Will that happen? I will fight this thing till the very end to make this state better. And the question that I think they need to decide is when did the guy in the White House resign? When does he take accountability for what he did? Because it isn't going to happen here in terms of us shying away from making the state better.
Thank you, Press. Next one's a little more now. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thank you, Press.
Well. Mr. Walz, Tim Walz, has decided not to run for governor. Surprise, surprise. All this fraud, he should have resigned. He's standing strong. I'm going to finish out my term. Like, no, just go. We don't want you to finish out your term. This fraud is just massive. It's so crazy. Anybody that says this is just Somalian fraud is full of it. Somalians obviously are a part of it, but the politicians are also involved with this money going out. It definitely ties into voting. There's a lot that goes into this. It's not just, all these Somalis came over here and decided to work the system. This is an organized type of crime scandal, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. You got to see some of these numbers I'm going to tell you. So let's first talk about Tim Walz and his press conference. He didn't even take any questions. All this fraud, and you read off a script and then you just walk off and say something about Trump. I don't care if Obama's in office, Trump's in office, or future Republican or Democrat. Don't even mention them because it has nothing to do with the issue at hand. So if I'm in charge of watching $1,000 cash in the drawer and that's my job, and let's say my wife goes in and says, "Where's the $1,000 cash?" I say, "I have no idea. I didn't know it was in there. It was Trump's fault. It was Obama's fault." She'd be like, "What? What does that have to do with where did the money go?" "Oh, well, I put things on my credit card." It doesn't matter. Where'd the money go? When Tim Walz came in as governor, there was a surplus of $329 million. They're estimating now, when he leaves, and then a year after that, so 2027, they're going to be negative, like $2.2 billion. This doesn't add to the surpluses of the governors in the past. Minnesota actually ran their state very well for the most part up until 2020, and then the fraud came in and all that. I'm sure fraud here and there was going on, but they were having a huge surplus. And sometimes even states show a surplus. You're paying a heck of a lot of taxes, federal taxes, state taxes, whatever it is. Maybe you don't have to pay that much in taxes. Well, why do we have such a huge surplus? Great. But what about the billions of dollars that were scandaled out and fraudulently taken? Okay, but we still have a surplus. Where the money went, and stop it. That's it. Don't fall in love with these politicians. Vote for their policies. If they don't do them, you got to email them. You have to send them messages. You have to write them letters and tell them your concerns. And the more letters they get, the more concerns they get, rational concerns, they're going to have to address it. The only reason they call it Somali fraud is it takes away from the politicians. You don't think about, oh, Tim Walz was involved or this person was involved. I'm not saying Tim Walz was involved. I have no evidence of that, but he was overseeing the states. Somebody under him knew what was going on. Somebody had to have known. While these Somalians were coming in and opening up all these businesses, You watch some of that Nick Shirley video, there's daycares with no kids in it, health offices with like buildings of health offices, office after office, and they're getting federal funding for this. But autism center, and then the Feeding Our Future, 300 million was scammed out of that. People drive around in expensive cars, and it's come to the point now where I'm so happy this is exposed. Maybe we'll make these politicians think about even running. Number one, you're not going to easily get rich like in the past. Some of these politicians, there's one, Nancy Pelosi, I guess people were stock trading off of her trades because they're so darn good. I don't know why they're so good. You figure that out. They're really good, like almost Warren Buffett type picks. This is all about money, and they're not doing what you want. And if you want this or that, and they're into their term and they're not doing it, you got to say something. Write them letters and make your voice known, or they're not going to address it. And they're just going to keep rerunning, winning, showing up when it's election time. And they don't care about you. They really don't. There's some that do. There's small pockets that really care, and they're not making money off this. I heard a pretty funny story. You got to look up the congressman. He might have been a senator, but he had a skateboard business. When you're in Congress, you have to get everything checked. But they went after this guy. He was just building skateboards. I think he's from Nebraska. You got to look it up, but it just popped in my head. But he had to go through the ringer, like the business, standard and what he's making. And like, he's making skateboards. What about all the other people? The insider trading and the fraud and the scams, and you're paying for it all. And this guy's making skateboards. They're going after him. So looked at the guy up that on your own that was making skateboards. He had to go through the ringer just because he had a business on the side. It just boggles my mind. I saw a report of Elon Omar's worth when she came. This is a report. I don't know if it's accurate, but now they said she's worth $30 million. Last time I checked, she can't dunk a basketball for the Timberwolves, hit a home run for the Twins, or throw a 60-yard pass for the Vikings. That's the only time I ever see someone get that type of money quickly, unless you're like a tech giant or a real estate developing something that's just like, wow, did you hear this person developed this? That's where they have all the money. But there's no track record of how it happened. For most of these people, there's no track record of how'd you get that money? How'd you get this? How'd you get that? Even George Washington was a great entrepreneur. He was rich, and it wasn't from government, obviously. He was rich from the businesses he created. And yeah, he was actually rich. We need more people that are entrepreneurs that have businesses. They have a lot of people working for them that they can take time out for 2 years and run their business as well as become a senator or a congressperson, because that's what we need. We don't need people that don't have any money managing the states and the federal money and also telling you have to pay more taxes when they're getting rich and loaded and they're not even paying taxes. That's the crazy about it. What does a senator or a congressman make? Congresswoman make? They make $300 at the most a year. So there's no way you can get $30 million making that. It's impossible unless you're creating something. So don't fall in love with these politicians. Demand what you voted for, and if they don't do it, find someone else and keep finding somebody else and hold them accountable. This is just something that I'm so glad went viral, because they're talking about other states, Washington, California, Ohio, Michigan. There's pockets of it everywhere. There's probably pockets of it in Illinois. But to me, everyone knew this was going on. This report of Minnesota actually came to fruition in 2020. Project Veritas, or James O'Keefe came out with something, and it really didn't get picked up. But once you can use it in a primary and start attacking, and once Nick Shirley put it out, you have to address it. So when all those people viewed that video, you had to address it. But not as many people viewed the Veritas video, and it never really came out. We just got to hold our politicians accountable. I don't care who you vote for. If you're a Democrat and you're voting for socialists and all that stuff, which I'm not for, but that's your prerogative. That's being an American. Make sure they do it. You got to just hold them accountable. It's that simple. There's so many ways to contact them. Social media, email now, obviously. Write them a letter, old-fashioned way. If they get a lot of these letters and messages, and whether they're directly getting them, they're people that are handing their accounts. We'll have to show them, like, look at these people. How's my polling? Not good. That's what you have to do. That's the only way. That's my take in Minnesota and in the other states. To have someone running a state that has a Feeding Our Future nutrition scam for $300 million. It's just, this can't happen anymore. We're in debt, we're trillion in debt, 2 trillion in debt, they say, and we're no getting out of it. There's no miracle saving that's going to happen to save the national debt. So that brings me into the Maduro thing. I'm actually for it. I don't know the insides of it. I don't know how long it's going to take to see the fruition of it, but at least we're not being lied to. Trump said, we went to go get the oil. He just told you why he went. The minerals, the oil, and he went there. It wasn't being run right. It's in our hemisphere. He didn't want other countries coming in and taking the oil and using the oil. So he took the oil. I don't know the total polling of Venezuela people, but I've seen a lot of cheers for it. I've seen some people that are against it. But the crazy thing is some of the people that are against it that live here, they weren't even talking about Venezuela until this happened. It wasn't even on their radar. I don't know if some of these people are paid just to be out there, but it's crazy watching people in our streets. You know, you never even lived in Venezuela. You have no idea how it is. And it looks like all the Cubans are all for it. They know what a dictatorship is about. They've lived through one. That's the thing about communism, and all the history shows that it never works. The more we go into that route, the more we can fail as a country here. That's my view on it. We got to make our country strong, our politicians better. We as people got to be better talking to each other. Anybody wants to message me and give me their 2 cents, great. As long as the messages are real messages, not bots, not attacks. Just give me your opinion. Respectfully, I'll respond to it. I'll give you my respected answer back. Hopefully it's respected. If not, no big deal. Let's just be nice to each other. That's the only way that we can hold our politicians accountable, because they want to divide us. That's what they want to do for the most part. Left versus right, you know, that's all it is. So that's my take on Minnesota. I hope whoever gets in there, the next governor, doesn't pick up where Walz left off. They turn the state around, because Minnesota is a great place. People are some of the nicest you'll ever meet, and they just kind of let this happen under their nose for fear of speaking out and all that. So kudos to Nick Shirley for putting that video out, because it opened a lot of people's eyes. Even if you're a Democrat or living in Minnesota, it doesn't matter. Stop trying to get on a team. You don't want your state laundering $8 billion out. You don't want planes of money flying out of Minnesota, going overseas, going somewhere in another country. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. So that's my take on it. We'll be back with segment 2. We're going to cover immigration. Let's roll this clip of John Solomon interviewing the congressman of Colorado. He's talking about the rampant state fraud that a lot of them are talking about now up in Washington, but I'm sure they knew it was always going on. You can roll a clip of Just the News.
Of course we should. We have to do it. It's embarrassing that Congress hasn't done this before. These are financial controls that any company would have on corporate money. Any good company would have it. The board of directors would fire them if they didn't. I don't know why in the world we wouldn't have those kinds of controls. But that's the problem with big government. When you're spending other people's money, it becomes easy to think it's okay to do that. And we've got folks right now say, well, we don't want to share our books. We don't want to open our books and show the federal government what's being done with some of these fraud cases and things. Baloney. This is the federal government. These are taxpayer dollars. We're asking people in my home state of Colorado to send in their hard-earned money and fund something in Minnesota or some other state. We better have better control over that money. And I think it's the tip of the iceberg. This is going to be an unfolding scandal, not just in Minnesota, but I think we're going to see fraud has been rampant in the system for many years.
All right, segment 2, we're going to talk about immigration. And I don't know if you saw the horrific video a day or two ago of, I think it was a woman being shot in the car by the ICE agent. So I've looked at all the videos now. I looked into it. I found some things about the officer that did it. And he was actually dragged like 300 feet by another car. I don't know how long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And he had all these stitches. There's a picture from the hospital. So that being said, you get the background of it. All right. Somebody already tried to run him over, dragged him 300 feet or yards or whatever. So this woman tried to flee. hit him in the front of the car. I can totally, one of the videos you can't see her make contact. It almost looks like he comes around the side and just shoots her. But no, she actually drove at him. He came off the front of the car and shot. You can debate whether he should have shot or not. I know a lot of cities don't allow cops to chase anybody. Some of the major Democrat-run cities, they're not allowed to chase. I know a lot of police officers in Chicago, and they've told me you're not allowed to chase. You avoid chasing. It's definitely self-defense. You can argue, could he have done this? Could he have done that? But we can't be money morning quarterbacks. We've never even done that job. You know, if somebody's about to run you over the car and you have your gun drawn, you can't say you would have done that. You can't say that he's a bad guy for doing that. You can't say, you know, somebody died, which again, I don't want anybody dying. It's not what I'm a Christian. I don't want, every life's valuable to me, you know, so like I want everyone to live and be happy. I don't want people dying. But unfortunately, when you attack law enforcement, that's going to be the outcome. It's so simple, but it gets a little more complicated. I'm not pro them running away. I'm not pro people trying to avoid ICE and take off running on the street or try to run over the car or whatever. But some of these people, which I'll get to, it's not their fault they're here. So we keep going like illegal immigrants, they're illegal technically. A lot of them came here in over a course of like 20 years because 30 years, our immigration system's so broken and they've contributed to society, but they got to pay their taxes. Seriously, they got to pay their taxes. I don't care. Make them all citizens, kick the bad ones out, make them citizens, get them on the plan. If they have no criminal record, give them some type of way to get in the right way. That's not my job. There's probably tons of ways to do that they're going over. Number one, get the criminals out. You have to, because they're making the good immigrants look really bad. A lot of these people don't even have any paperwork. So they come across the border, they get a violation, it's like a parking ticket. And then they say your court date's here, and the court dates could be years away. The amount of judges that were in place from 2020 to the amount of illegals that were coming in, they couldn't sustain all the people and all the court cases. So this was set up on purpose, no doubt, because we've never seen people flood the border like we saw when Biden took over as president. So you can say, oh, this is a free country. Your ancestors came in. This is different. This is a whole different ballgame than that. You can make comparisons. I'd love to hear debates on that, but it's a whole different ballgame. When you go and try to live in Europe, let's call it Spain, you have to show where are you from, how much money you actually earn, how much money you bring into the country, because they don't want to pay country funds for you. They don't want to take care of you. They don't want to be giving you handouts. So they ask you what you make. You have to show them that you're going to be a prosperous citizen. A lot of immigrants work their butt off, man. So there's a lot of great immigrants here. A lot of them are illegal. And that's on the politicians. It's their fault. They let them all in. They don't even talk about how many people died trying to come in. Like crossing the border. Are they leaving countries that are great to come here? No, they're leaving horrible situations. And they were told to come, so they're putting their lives on the line and their children, and there's so many missing kids and other people coming over. It's just bonkers. People always try to ask, why are they doing this? And I'm like, they know what they're doing. There's a reason for everything. Whatever the reasons are, you can debate. You can't get inside everybody's head, but you can kind of put two and two together why it's happened, especially in places where you don't need an ID to vote. So anybody can come in and vote, and you can get a license pretty easily. I have no proof of this, but I believe that they brought all these people over, put them in the areas that, you know, they don't need an ID to vote, and then these people probably voted, or they enrolled them to vote, and maybe some of them didn't come. But the more you enroll, there's going to be some that come. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. Some people don't want to say it, but it's got to be the reason, because you put a lot of people in jeopardy. So you got to go back, look up, do this on your own, but look up Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama talking about the border. They were like MAGA to the extreme. It's crazy. And it just went, like silence. You can talk about what Obama did, what he said, Hillary Clinton, but they're all for a strong, secure border. Somewhere along the lines, after COVID happened, it changed. That wasn't part of the Democratic platform, just common sense immigration. So you can't just open the doors and tell everyone to come. You saw what happened, man. That was just crazy. And a lot of the criminals came in, crime rates are up. There's people some of these people are coming from countries where they don't live like we live. They don't go by the same rules that we go by. They've committed the most heinous crimes in other countries. And this is just like, they're not all there. They're mentally not all there. So, and you're putting them in a society that's, affluent society, and they're just like lions in the jungle coming for you. Not all of them, but obviously, I'm talking more of the criminals. But there's great people that are here but are under the radar, not paying taxes, running businesses, making good money, raising families. I'm for that, but you got to pay your taxes. Why should I pay my taxes, but somebody can live here for 20 years and not pay their taxes? It's no different than why should someone be able to open a daycare with no kids and get federal funding and make $1 million? It's no different than a sitting senator, sitting congressman, congresswoman, somehow getting $20 million after, 2 or 3 terms. So if everyone just plays by the same rules, it'll be better. What happened is horrible with the ICE officer. I don't judge him at all for shooting her. I wasn't there. I wasn't in his shoes. I haven't lived through what he's lived through. That goes for police officers as well. There are some bad instances that happen, of course, but no one's talking about all the people that died trying to come here because they were told they can come. No one even talks about them. So many people died. It was crazy. They're pulling people out of the rivers in Texas, and it just, trying to get over. They can't. It's a debacle. I hope we fix it, at least in my lifetime, so our kids grow up and it's a country that's run a lot better, hopefully. We can be prosperous and people can come here legally. There's got to be a better way to vet people and make sure that they can become a citizen and all that. And I heard it takes a long time, but there's a lot of people that have gone through it and done it. Most of them are great people that have gone through the system, were vetted, and are a citizen, and they pay their taxes. So it's not fair to them or us to pay our taxes while illegals come in and don't pay any taxes and get money. Give that money to people that need it. Take all that money and try to help in different areas. Maybe take one of those hotels, buy it out, and use it for housing for homeless and all that. There's a lot of ideas that you can do. I'm sure they've talked about them. There's pros and cons of them, but I know not giving an illegal a phone, free hotel stay, no citizenship, but a license, and you're able to vote doesn't make sense. I mean, no one can look at me and say that makes sense. If you really talk about like the ID to vote, there's people on both sides that are like, no, we don't want that. It's just like, why? Why wouldn't you want that? It's so hard to get an ID. It's like, come on. It's easy to get an ID. And if it's so hard to get an ID, okay, let's figure something out online how to get an ID. Let's put ID places up where you can go and get one. It doesn't have to be the DMV and waiting on those lines. Those are pretty brutal. I know, I've been through them. Some states run great DMVs, some don't. So that's my take on immigration. Message me if you have any disagreements, anything you want to chat about, find me and direct message me. Next segment's going to be, we're going to talk about the new food pyramid, which is a great thing. We'll go over all the pros. It's all pros to me. There's no cons to it. I'll put that up on the screen and I'll show you the new food pyramid that RFK put out. Hey, welcome back to the third segment of the Wiley Wire. I have up the new 2026 food pyramid. It's basically if you took the old one and just flipped it, all the grains in the breads are at the bottom now. In the past, there might have been a picture of a cupcake on top. It was all carbs. It was so carb-based, which carbs are sugars, obviously. Like your body's just not supposed to consume that many carbs. And I know that our country is the most obese country in the world per capita, easily. It's all because of foods that have artificial flavoring, packaged crap that we can grab right away. You go to countries like Greece or Italy, and Italy has got a lot of carbs with the pizza and all that, but with the cheese and the wines, they call it the Mediterranean diet. Those are the most healthy diets because they give you the protein you need. And this pyramid here, as you can see, it's all meat on top, vegetables, carrots, avocado, eggs, fruits towards the bottom. You see the bananas. It's basically meat, protein, vegetables, things that you need. Obviously, you're not going to be obese doing this. If somebody has heart issues, they say do the Mediterranean diet. You have heart issues because, one, you don't exercise. Two, you're eating too much cholesterol and heavy carbs. I'm no doctor, so there's probably some doctors who will disagree with some things I'm saying, but I'm just going for myself. As a diabetic, which I am, juvenile diabetic, I have it my whole life. With the science they have now, with the medicine they have now, if you just limit the bottom, do a little grains, and just eat everything on top of the pyramid, other than the fruit, you take it easy on the fruit, you don't even have to bolus. Bolus, if you're not a diabetic, means when we eat a carb, we got to put in a bolus, which is insulin to break down our blood sugar. So if we eat a pizza, I love pizza, but for a diabetic, not the best thing to eat. It just takes a long time for the insulin pump to really break it down. It's a tough one to manage. There's a lot that goes into it. You got to medicate way early before you eat the pizza, and then it's just a lot going on with that. But if you follow this as a diabetic, type 1, your insulin pump is basically going to work for you at all times. You don't even have to bolus most of the time. Here and there a little bit, but if you have one of those automated pumps that does it for you, you don't really have to do anything. There's been days where I've used my pump, I haven't even touched the bolus button because I didn't need to. I didn't need any carbs. I had good carbs. Avocado has some carbs in it, but they're not heavy carbs. When your body breaks those down a lot easier. For type 2 diabetes, that's a whole different ballgame. You can get a lot of doctors that give you different advice. Only reason I have info on this is because I've grew up with type 1, and I've talked to a lot of type 2 diabetics because they think we have the same thing going on and we don't. And I'd like to tell them, you don't need to take any medicine. If you're at a certain age and you've already done so much damage to your body and you're type 2, that's see your doctor, but you're more prone to needing to take something. But somebody in their 40s, 30s, 50s, and they have type 2 diabetes, it's just because you've ate so bad for so long that your pancreas can't deliver enough insulin to keep your blood sugar at the normal rate it's supposed to be. For diabetics, this is fabulous. For type 2 diabetics, eat like this and you'll be fine. For kids, growing up in Chicago, I went to Chicago public schools, and you should saw what they would give us. It was all sugar. Me being a diabetic, that was really tough back when you had to do injections of insulin shots. If they had this back then, and that's how the meals were formulated, that would have been a game changer for me. I'm happy for kids that are going to school and they're not going to be just fed this crap, preservatives and all these things they have on the shelves. Last thing I'm going to add to the food pyramid, this was a big win for RFK getting this through. Big win for parents, big win for kids, and pretty much big win for everybody. I read something about why they did packaged foods. Back in World War II, they needed to feed the soldiers and they needed the food to last longer. So you put all these preservatives in there to keep it fresh a lot longer, actually. Packaged goods, packaged food, and, like boxed rice, all that stuff. It was used for the war. Once they figured out that we can use this here in America as a daily food, not an emergency food, shelves started getting stocked with it. So you got to check and see what's in there. There's so many organic companies out there. There's some are fake, but there's some real good ones, even for kids, like kids treats, kids, little candies and all that stuff. They're a little more expensive, but that's your alternative at this point until they really implement the food dyes and all that. I know I heard a rumor Steak and Shake took out the canola oil on the, I guess it was just their French fries, but correct me if I'm wrong, tallow oil, which is what they used to use, when McDonald's first started, they didn't use canola oil. They used tallow. I think it's beef tallow oil or something, but they used natural products to make food, which is naturally healthier in certain parts of Europe. What they eat is not even close to what we eat here. They don't eat all that packaged food. It's finally started getting over there and starting to become popular in late 90s, 2000s, around that time. It started to trickle its way in there. But for the most part, you walk around Europe and you don't see a lot of obese people. You just don't. They're walking, they're eating, they don't eat the carb diet that we do here. Carbs aren't the number one thing all the time. They eat a lot of cheeses, a lot of meats, a lot of vegetables, fruits. Do they eat bread? Of course, but they don't eat bread like we eat bread. They don't eat starch and carbs like we eat carbs. If you go look up the old food pyramid, you just can flip it. They actually had the carbs are on the top, like the number where the meat is on this one. So it's wild. That's what I got on the food pyramid. Next up, my NFL picks. It's going to be a big weekend. I'm a Bears fan. I'm rooting Bears. Don't hate me for that, but it's going to be a tough one. I'll get to my picks on the next segment. All right, we're back. I'm going to give you my NFL playoff picks. Obviously, I'm a Bears fan, and I'm definitely picking the Bears. So I'll get into that game in a minute. But Rams, Panthers, kudos to the Panthers, how they played. Never saw this coming. I thought they were an organization in turmoil a season ago, and now they're here in the playoffs. I'm taking Rams just because of experience. You got Stafford, he's done this before. He's won a Super Bowl. They're the top scoring team in the league. I think the Panthers are the weakest team in the playoffs, and I think Rams handle them pretty easily. Bears, Packers. I've talked to Packers fans. I've talked to Bears fans. Obviously, I'm a Bears fan. We're both scared of each other. It's never been like this. Packers used to be like, oh, we're going to mow down the Bears. Now we beat them. They beat us. I know when we beat them, the backup was in, but that threw off our game plan too. And I thought we handled him pretty well. He came out firing, but we were getting to Jordan Love. So I don't hold too much, and it was the backup. The Bears are getting some players back. It's going to be real big help for them. Obviously, Parsons is out. So I'm going Bears, but they got to score 21 points. I'm holding to that. They have to score 21. If there's elements, it's going to favor the Bears because their running game is so good. They got to run the ball. They got to score 21. I don't like our chances if it's 10-6 or something like that. I just don't like our chances. But I'm going Bears. Got to score 21. The Jaguars-Bills game is going to be, I don't even know where to go with this one. If you get the Bills team that everyone thought they were going to get this year, the Bills have been good. So everyone is just suspecting them to just mow everybody down this year. They've had a weird season, but they're here. They're one of the favorites. They have arguably the best quarterback in the league. I don't see the Bills losing this game. The only way the Jaguars could win is if you get a sloppy Bills team, the team that you kind of saw here and there. The Jaguars have been so consistent, and I've picked literally every week I've picked them to lose, and they keep winning. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going Bills. Let's look at the 49ers, Eagles. I'm going 49ers. The Eagles are they're inconsistent at times. They have the experience, but Purdy just looks so good this year. I don't know what Eagles team I'm going to get, and I know Purdy's been great. I think it's his time to win a playoff game and make a push and kind of make a name for himself. So I'm going 49ers over Eagles. Patriots, Chargers. I'm going Patriots. But if Drake May comes out and is unfazed by his first playoff start, like he did against the Bills, I got Patriots all day. If he gets jitters, the jitters can't last more than a quarter. Patriots got to play good on D, because I know Herbert's going to come slinging, and he's ready to make a name for himself as well. I'm going to go with Patriots, but May has been consistent all year. He makes the right play. He doesn't turn the ball over, which is what winning playoff football is about, not turning the ball over. He doesn't do that. If he comes out solid, I think Patriots take this game. Those are my picks. Jaguars. Ugh. I should just pick the Jaguars, but I'm not going to do it. Those are my picks. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. That's episode 2 of the Wiley Wire. Thanks for watching. I just want to cover a couple of things before I go. We'll be doing episodes every Tuesday and Friday. We'll be on all platforms at the Wiley Wire. We'll even be on Rumble starting next week. I put a video on TikTok, a short reel about the Maduro capture, and it got taken down. I don't know why. I guess it broke their community guidelines. If you've watched the episode, you know I didn't say anything. I rewatched it. I can't believe they took it down, but I'll continue to post there. But if videos continue to get taken down for no reason, I'm just going to post fluff pieces about sports and goofy stuff. No dancing. I won't get any TikTok dancing from me, but you'll get more fluffy videos that don't break their guidelines. Follow us at the Wiley Wire, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
The Wiley Wire dives into sports, music, politics, health, and trending topics for entertainment, info, and education. Listener discretion advised. May include mature themes, explicit language, controversial views, or sensitive content. Not suitable for under 18 or all audiences. Parents, please supervise. All opinions from hosts, guests, and contributors are personal and don't reflect our official views. Information isn't guaranteed to be accurate. Do your own research and consult qualified professionals.